How we doing, everybody, and welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, today joined by Austin and Rogan. First off, Austin, how we doing on this Wednesday?
You know, Trage, they were not kidding when they said we were going to get snow, and the roads were slick today. Let me tell you. My car was sliding all over the place. I had to shovel a couple places, but we still made it here.
We are here, and we are ready to rock. Rogan, how are we doing on this Wednesday?
It's going good, boys. It's going good. I can't say I did see Big Hump out there shoveling some driveways today. He was looking good.
He just watched him. He watched him. He didn't go.
You didn't want to help. He just watched me.
He just watched him. He had to sit behind the line of cars of ladies that were stopping to watch Big Hump getting out there on the shovel. So today we got a lot to talk about on this. It's a blistery day. It's a snowy day here in Wisconsin. We got a lot of things to talk about. We got the Bucks. That is a disaster right now in Milwaukee. Not sure what to make of it, but we're going to try to make something out of it today. Looking at the Bucks, also looking at Badger basketball. They're in action tonight there against Ohio State. Looking at Marquette men's basketball in action against Butler. And then we got a little bit of Packer talk to wrap it up today. And then we'll see where the day takes us. Lots of things going on in the world of sports. So right away, I want to look at the Bucks. Bucks lose to the Jazz, 132-116. This adds to another, this streak that the Bucks are on, a couple wins here and there, but some bad losses mixed in between. Austin, what did we see for some stats in that game first? And then we're going to get into the Bucks a little bit, talking about what's going on there in Milwaukee.
Yeah, Utah Jazz pretty much dominated the whole game. The only time Milwaukee won a quarter was the third quarter, and they scored 44 points. But besides that, Milwaukee didn't even get over 30 points in a quarter. And that was due to the fact that Utah Jazz, Lauri Markkanen, he had 21 points, and Colin Sexton, he had 19. But they're also their bench. Utah Jazz bench exploded, with Jordan Clarkson having 21, and George also having 19. For the Bucks, Giannis 25 points, and that's kind of a smaller number that we've seen from Giannis. He did add 10 rebounds and 11 assists, so we had a triple-double. But at the end of the day, a triple-double doesn't really matter when the Bucks lose. Middleton we saw have 23, but it doesn't look like we had Damian Lillard for us, so that also did not help us at all. Jackson Jr. actually started. Besides Giannis and Middleton, it was a whole lot of duds. Beasley did add 17, but overall it was just an ugly night for the Bucks.
And, we talk about Giannis all the time there with the Bucks there. And, after this game, he came out and he goes, crap, I boo myself tonight too after that game, because Bucks fans were booing the Bucks coming off the court there. And I look at this team and I say to myself, they are too reliant on Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that has a lot to do with the ball gets in Giannis's hands and he tries to do it all. If I was a teammate of Giannis and he came down and he shot a three, I would be pissed. I would be ticked. I would be done, because Giannis Antetokounmpo is not a good three-point shooter. Wasting possessions shooting threes if you are Giannis. If it's a high percentage shot, I get it. Around the rim with Giannis, that's his game. Outside on the perimeter, that's not Giannis. And him shooting threes, wasting possessions like that, he might make once in a while. He might make one. He might hit two every once in a blue moon. But Giannis right now, to me, they are too reliant on him, and somebody's got to tell him no. Somebody's got to say, Giannis, you're trying to do too much right now for the Bucks. This isn't a team that's playing with team basketball. That's the big thing when you watch this Bucks team. Middleton going by himself. Dame's doing it by himself. Giannis trying to do it by himself. It's not working fluently together. And I don't know if I'm far-fetched. Rogan, what are you seeing right now with this Bucks team? Are you seeing the same kind of concept there with the Bucks?
Yeah, a big reason they fired Budenholzer last year too is because they were too one-on-one oriented. All the offense was one-on-one. So they brought this new guy in. He's supposed to make this offense more fluid, play with one another, through one another. And not only is the offense exactly the same, the defense is non-existent on the Bucks. It is every night we are looking at that box score, and the other team has 130, 140 points. We cannot guard anybody. So I'm not really sure what Adrian Griffin has brought to this team at this point.
You know, the Adrian Griffin hire to me was, we want a guy to come into Milwaukee, not to be a stickler, not like a Bill Belichick, right? Not a guy who's going to run this baby like it's a business. We want a guy to come in. He's going to pat guys on the back, and he's going to say, that's good enough. That's good enough. I'm going to keep my stars on the court. I'm not going to tell him no. Somebody needs to tell Giannis no. Somebody needs to stand up to Giannis and say, hey, dude, we like you. You're a superstar, but you're trying to do too much right now. And like you said, the Bucks defense, atrocious. I mean, Bobby Portis, good defender. Brook Lopez, good defender. Jay Crowder, good defender. Andre Jackson Jr., good defender. You look at the rest of them, Damian Lillard, Beasley, Giannis, good defender there. But, I mean, other than that, this team is bad. And they're showing age. I mean, if you look at this team, they are showing age right now. We look at that Pacers series. Why can't they keep up with the Pacers? Why are the Pacers kicking the crap out of the Bucks? They're fast. They're too fast for the Bucks. We can't keep up. And Brook Lopez, I feel bad for the poor guy. He plays old basketball. He stands in the lane. He blocks. He gets block shots all day long, and nobody's there to help him. You look at the rebounding for the Bucks, and I swear to you, Brook Lopez is underneath there trying to get the board. Everybody else is bailing out. Nobody else is down there trying to get the defensive rebound. Everybody else is out there. I mean, there's not there. You know, I've always been mad watching the NBA nowadays for no defense, but watching this Bucks team is like that amplified right now. It is just outright terrible. It's laziness. It is. It's laziness by this Bucks team. You're telling me Damian Lillard can't play any defense? That's bullcrap. Beasley can't play any defense. That's bullcrap. You need somebody in there who's going to tell these guys, this is how it's got to be done. I don't think Giannis is doing it because we aren't seeing it. Giannis isn't saying anything to these guys. Adrian Griffin can't get it done because what we're seeing right now, Adrian Griffin has not told anybody anything. I like Adrian Griffin. I like the heart that he has. I mean, he's a good guy. I don't think he can coach. I don't think he can coach this Bucks team to what they could be. Right now, like we were talking the other day, Austin and I, were this Bucks team, they're not in the top 4 in the East right now. They are not a top 4 team in the East. If they got past the first round right now, I think they'd be lucky. I think they would definitely be lucky. This Bucks team cannot go toe-to-toe with, and I mean, they play the Celtics up next. That game is going to be brutal to watch if they play anywhere like this, like they did against the Jazz here. And you look at even against the Spurs. That game was close, 125-121. Everybody's like, oh, Adrian Griffin's like, oh, it was good to see Wembayama and Giannis go back and forth. No. This Spurs team has 5 wins on the season going up against the Bucks, who are supposed to be one of the top teams in the East, and we dang near dropped that game. Are you kidding me right now? I mean, nobody in that organization has the balls to call Giannis out, and I think that is the biggest problem right now. Holds the ball too long, tries for threes. I think that's just the biggest problem in Milwaukee right now is team chemistry. We talked about it. It would take a while to build. I don't think it's built. And if it hasn't built by now, I don't have faith it's going to build by the end of the season.
Yeah, and also I'm just thinking back to when the Bucks won the championship, and it seemed like, I mean, Giannis would go off for those games too, but it seemed like he didn't place as much pressure on himself as he is now. I mean, he had his 40-point nights and whatsoever. But even with that team, we still had Chris Middleton, Holiday. I can see his face, but I don't remember his name. He was pretty good, though, too. He can shoot the ball. Like, we had players that seemed like Giannis still trusted to give them the ball, and they would have their nights, too, still getting 20 points per game. But now with this team, it seems like, I mean, we still got Middleton, and now we even have Damian Lillard. I mean, Lopez is still there from that team. And those guys just aren't scoring as much as we thought that they would, maybe. I don't know. It just seems like you said, still one-on-one ball, and I mean, Giannis has to be held accountable, but at this point with Middleton's back to full minutes now too. He dropped 23 points, but we're still not getting anything barely from Brook Lopez. And I think he does play bully ball, but is it time where maybe Brook Lopez is getting a little bit too old for playing with this a little bit young Bucks team here? Maybe we need to go find someone a little bit younger that's able to play with the pace of basketball now these days. I mean, you don't see Brook Lopez really running down the court anything. He makes a couple 3-pointers. Like, they call him Splash Mountain, but in this game even, he went 3 for 6, but that was almost all of his points right there. Is he really doing anything inside? Not a whole lot. And also, like, Beasley, he's not really helping out the team a lot, and we've talked about him plenty of times. And obviously Jackson Jr. playing because Damian Lillard's out. But I think we have the players that Giannis needs to trust, but do those players have or does Giannis trust those players right now is the question.
Well, and a lot of Brook Lopez, too, like you were saying there, he's not touching the ball. I mean, if you look at this, Dame comes down with the basketball, Brook Lopez's job is set a screen. And then that's it. Dame's taking the shot. And then you watch Giannis come down the court. Giannis is taking the shot. Middleton gets the ball. Middleton's taking the shot. There's not, I mean, you look at old basketball, classic basketball, what Brook Lopez would be finessed in, and it's not that kind of game for him right now. It's one-on-one basketball, like we're saying, and Brook Lopez isn't going to go one-on-one unless you get him the ball in the paint. He's not going to stand out the perimeter, bring the ball down, and go one-on-one like Giannis is trying to do. And that's where team basketball is taking Brook Lopez's game out of the Bucks. I mean, he's not doing anything for the Bucks team right now, except for being a defensive player. That is about it for the Bucks right now. Rogan, anything to add yet to this Bucks?
Yeah, I think we're talking about like the scoring, but let's be honest with this team. I don't think the scoring is the problem. Like, I believe the last time I knew they were top 3 in points per game. Like, they can score the basketball. It's this defense. There has to be some trades because we need more defenders. Like, the defense ranks in the bottom half of the league in every single statistical category. It has to get better. And this is kind of a hot take, but Trage, I don't know if Griffin's going to make it to the season as the Bucks head coach this year.
If they cannot turn it around by the NBA All-Star break, if the Bucks don't, if they keep losing games like this to subpar teams, yeah, I could see Adrian Griffin being gone. I really could. Or stepping down voluntarily and saying that I can't do this. And, a lot of that has to do with he's not running the team. The players are running the team. The players are walking all over Adrian Griffin. He has no say in what happens out there. This is Giannis's team. And Giannis is basically running what he wants to do. Dame's going out there. He's doing what he wants to do. Adrian Griffin doesn't have a say in what's going on right now. You cannot give a first-year head coach Giannis, Damian Lillard, Middleton, and Brook Lopez. You can't give them that kind of team. That team is going to walk all over them. This isn't like a first-year head coach coming in for a bunch of rookies, where the rookies are going to look up to him a little bit and say, oh, this guy's been in the league for a little bit. These guys don't care. They think they know, so they're going to go out and do it. And that's what we're seeing right now, and that's why we're sitting where we are with this Bucks team talking about one-on-one basketball, terrible defense. I don't know what offense really is ran by the Bucks at times. And, just outright atrocious basketball watching the Milwaukee Bucks right now. So hopefully better things ahead for the Milwaukee Bucks here as we move forward here into the later months of this season. But with that, I want to jump over Game Day Supply in Onalaska. Right now, they're having a big sale. True Hockey City Flight hoodies are 25% off, only $60. Blowout prices on True Catalyst and Hazardous hockey sticks. Also in exciting news, now available Speed Tech Fleece. The best of comfort and style, perfect for corporate wear, full zip hoodies for warm-ups, joggers, and classic sweatpants and hoodies. Choose from a wide variety of vibrant colors and personalized with embroidering. Elevate your wardrobe with the latest in comfort and style from Game Day Supply in Onalaska. With that, I want to jump over National Championship last night there. Not what kind of what we expected, but not in a blowout fashion like it happened. 34-13 was the final score there. Michigan got the win. Finally getting Jim Harbaugh his national championship. Now the talks are Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan. We'll get into that on a later date. But that game, it was controlled by Michigan, but there was a lot of calls in that game that weren't called or should have been called. And, it kind of got out of hand there. So interesting game all around. So I'll jump to Rogan right away. Rogan, what were your thoughts coming out of that national championship game there?
Yeah, like you were saying, Michigan really you felt like the entire game Michigan was really in control, but Washington had their chances. They really did. There was a couple possessions there in that second half, late in that third quarter, where they could have tied that game up at 20, and they just could not capitalize. And from there on out, Michigan just kind of slammed the door on them. But like you said, there was a few calls there late in that game that a lot of people are talking about today. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's all over, after every game. They're gonna make excuses. They're gonna be that kind of thing and this kind of thing. But like you said, Washington had their shots. They had shots early in this game too. I know there was a couple. I think it was a fourth down. They had a wide open receiver. Michael Penix missed them over the top there. So they had, like you said, had their chances throughout this game. Couldn't get it done. Austin, reactions coming out of this national championship for you?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. I mean, there were some penalties that went Michigan's way, especially kind of like one of the last ones where they had a deep shot. Washington had a deep shot downfield, and then it was a questionable holding call on their right tackle. But also, like Rogan said, I mean, Washington had their chances, and especially early when Michael Penix missed Aduzier downfield. And I mean, granted, that's probably going for a touchdown for Washington, but he just overthrew him a little bit. I think a lot of people don't give Michigan's team – a lot of people give Michigan teams credit, but I think a lot of people kind of – they didn't think that they were going to be this good. I mean, you even saw Paul Feinbaum. He's a reporter he's always on ESPN on SEC, and he's like he admits he was wrong about about Michigan, because he thought that Michigan was probably going to get – there was a lot of allegations, let's say, about Michigan. And, I mean, everyone thought, oh, they're cheating. Oh, all this, all that. And even with all that, without having John Harbaugh as their coach for those few games against Ohio State, he comes back and they still end up winning the championship. I mean, you got to give Michigan credit for how good they played and how good their defense was. Their defense, I mean, I don't think any of these teams saw a Michigan defense. The closest thing Alabama probably saw to a Michigan defense was Georgia. And I don't think Washington even saw a Michigan defense the whole entire year. The closest thing they probably saw was Oregon. But, I mean, even Oregon was nothing compared to what Michigan's defense had. And then you got to look at Michigan's offense, too. I mean, their running attack with Blake Corum, Edwards, and they even had another guy out there. I mean, Edwards is their second back, and he had 2 touchdowns for him. And then Corum, obviously, he just did what he has been doing all year, and they ran the ball. I mean, I think Washington just got out-toughed at the line of scrimmage, and J.J. McCarthy didn't even really throw the ball. I saw a lot of things on Instagram. It's J.J. McCarthy kind of got carried to a championship here because he just pretty much had to hand the ball off. And I'm sure I didn't watch like almost the whole – I watched a lot of the game, but some parts I missed. And I'm sure J.J. McCarthy probably still had some decent throws in the game, but a lot of it was their rushing attack. But that's what Michigan's been doing all year, and as we see it continue to work. I think Washington had a chance with how good their offense was, but I don't think they were ready for that Michigan defense.
The big thing I saw is that Washington, looking at it going to the Big Ten next year, they got introduced to what Big Ten football is, and that's the line of scrimmage is where you're going to win ball games. And that's what Michigan showed them in this game. I mean, like you said, 303 yards rushing on this ball game by Michigan. That was, Edwards, Corum, like you said, but then McCarthy, Mullins, they got all kinds of guys involved there. McCarthy, 140 yards through the air, didn't really have to do anything. I mean, like you said, carried to a national championship. That's what I think the big thing I took from this game was, and I've always thought it, you look at the Pac-12 scores throughout the season, and it's 40-something to 40-something. There isn't great defense played in the Pac-12. And they get to the college football playoff, and we watch every year. It's hard for these Pac-12 teams to compete because they're so offensively oriented. They're like, let's load up the offense. Let's load up the offense. And they don't load up in the key spots. Washington is going to have to recruit in a different way coming into the Big Ten because we watched what Michigan did to them. The line of scrimmage, like you said, controlled it the whole game. Rushing attack was there. Didn't have to throw the football. And you look at Washington's defense, the front, not so good. Their secondary, pretty darn good. That's where in the Pac-12, you want to have a better secondary. They're going to throw the ball around a lot. In the Big Ten, it's run the ball. It's run it down your throat. It doesn't matter if you're playing Michigan or Ohio State or if you're playing Iowa or Wisconsin. It's run, run, run. That's how you win ball games in the Big Ten. So I thought that was a big takeaway I had from that game. Rogan, anything to add to the national championship?
Yeah, just like you were saying, it's gonna be different for Washington coming forward. And I'm not a Michigan fan, but I'm glad they won the way they did, to just kind of, like Austin was saying, put all the sign stealing stuff to rest, and just like everybody knows that Michigan was the best team in the country this year, and there is no doubt about that. So
definitely got to agree with you there. Michigan proved it on the field right there, and like you guys were saying, proved it with all the allegations happening at the same time. So with that, I want to talk about Home Team Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy, Sue, or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at Home Team Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. But with that, I got to jump over to Austin. Austin with our fact of the day.
Yeah, Trage. Our fact of the day on this day in. Let me find a good one here. I didn't. Today's a little tough one. There's not really a whole lot of facts on January 10th, so it's kind of hard to find one. But here's an interesting one. In 1983, New York Supreme Court issues a preliminary injunction barring New York Yankees from playing season opening series against Tigers in Denver. I don't know. It's a weird one, Trage. I don't know anything about it, but it's just a little confusing on why the New York Yankees would even be playing the Tigers in Denver.
Interesting. There's a backstory behind that somewhere, and somebody out there has to leave us a review telling us the backstory on that fact of the day, because somebody out there knows the reasoning behind that, and it's got to be something. It's got to be something. Definitely an interesting fact of the day right there. But with that, we got to jump into the Badgers. They're in action tonight against Ohio State. That's going to be a 7:30 tip there on BTN. Wisconsin coming into this one ranked number 15 in the country, 11-3 overall. Ohio State coming in at 12-3. Both teams playing pretty well this season. Wisconsin 3-0 in Big 10 play compared to a 2-2 start from Ohio State. Looking at the matchup here, I mean, it's a 50-50 shot right now. They're giving them Wisconsin traveling to Columbus. A big road test for the Badgers. Austin, what are we looking at for some key guys there for Wisconsin and Ohio State in this one?
Yeah, starting with Ohio State here. Their top scorer, Bruce Thornton, he's averaging 16.9 points per game along with 4.3 assists. Leads the team in both those categories along with steals. He averages 1.4 steals per game. So it's going to be crucial for the Badgers to limit turnovers in this one. Jamison Battle, he averages about 15 points per game. And then Roddy Gale Jr. averages 14.5 points per game along with 5.5 rebounds per game. One of their big men here, Felix Okpara, he averages only 6.3 points per game, but 7.1 points per game. And he's definitely one of their biggest guys. He's 6'11", so it kind of matches a little bit up with Stephen Crow in the middle there, and he could be a big factor on how many rebounds we get. As of now, they average 40 rebounds per game, and as a team, they average 78.1 points per game. So definitely a pretty good team here. And right now, I mean, the Badgers are only predicted to win by 50.1 or 51%, 50.1%, something like that. So it's going to be a pretty close game here for the Badgers. And you look at the schedule for Ohio State, only 3 losses. One of them coming to Indiana in their most recent one, a 71-65 loss. But that one was in Indiana, and one of their other losses was at Penn State. So 2 of their 3 losses were on the road there. So it definitely didn't help their case. But definitely a very good team that the Badgers are going to be playing tonight.
And like you were saying there, looking at Ohio State there with Zed Key and Akpara, two pretty good post players that they have there. Zed Key has been a starter for the past 3 seasons for this Ohio State team. Moved to the bench. Akpara gets the starting role now for him, but Zed Key comes off the bench, still adds in his depth there, especially 9 points a game. Right now, you look at this Ohio State team, and they go about 8 deep on that bench there, adding in some minutes there all the way around. The big thing for the Badgers is they're going to have to test the depth of Ohio State there with the big men. If you can get Akpara into foul trouble, even Zed Key, if you can get them both kind of into that foul trouble kind of scenario there, looking at the Badgers, you have Tyler Wall, you have Steven Crowell, you also have Carter Gilmore and Nolan Winter coming off the bench there for Wisconsin. So if you can test the bench of this Ohio State team, see how deep they can go in the post area, I think that's going to be a big thing for Wisconsin in this one. Really, like I said, testing the depth, seeing how far they will go, and if they will risk maybe keeping Zed Key out there with 2 fouls in that first half, keeping Akpara out there. And if you can get, say, Akpara into foul trouble, Zed Key's going to get tired playing all them minutes out there, especially not having that break in there, having to bang around with Steven Crowell and Wall in the post there for time on end there. So I think that's going to be a big thing here in this one. Also, Wisconsin's going to have the bigger bench in this game. I mean, looking at, like I said, Ohio State goes about 8. They go about 8 deep. I mean, they go deep on that bench there for the Buckeyes. So Wisconsin, they can go deep as well. They got McGee out there. And then you're looking at guys like Gilmore, Blackwell, Connor. I think Connor Essegian is going to be a big one in this game. What Connor Essegian could bring to the Badgers in a game, a road test. At Columbus, you're playing in Ohio State. It's going to be a different environment. You haven't really played a true big road game yet, except for Michigan State. What does Connor Essegian bring to the Badgers in this one? I think that's going to be a big thing to watch out for. And like you said, Bruce Thornton and Jamison Battle. Right now, Jamison Battle is shooting about 45% from downtown. That is impressive right there out of Jamison Battle. He's been ringing it up as of late. Tough to slow him down. So I think right now, looking at the Badgers, you're going to have 3 guards there for Ohio State: Bruce Thornton, Roddy Gale Jr., and Jamison Battle. Those guys account for about 45 of Ohio State's 78 points per game on the season right now. So if you want to slow down Ohio State, you slow them down in the backcourt. That's going to be the big thing. And luckily for Wisconsin, you have 3 pretty good defenders there in McGee, in Chucky Hepburn, and looking at a guy like Max Klesmit. Those are 3 good defenders there for this Badger team. Also, Tyler Wall. I think Wall could be switched onto some of these guys and be able to slow them down like Bruce Thornton. Wall's kind of that versatile guy. I mean, he's got the height, but Wall can defend out there on the perimeter. I think that's going to be a big thing to watch out for in this game here. Thornton, I think, is going to be the big one. You slow down... Excuse me. You slow down Thornton in this one. I think that's going to be a big key for Wisconsin in this ball game here. So, Rogan, anything you're seeing from this Wisconsin and Ohio State matchup coming up tonight here? It's a big test for the Badgers on the road.
I personally think this is this might be the biggest game that they've played so far. Obviously, that Arizona game that they played, that's a game where if we go win that game, it's nice. If we lose, not the end of the world. That's a really solid Arizona team. And Michigan State, that was a tough game too, but Michigan State was struggling when we played them. So it's going to be a different game with Michigan State the second time around than it was the first time. I look at this Ohio State team, though, and they're playing good right now. And this is a game that if the Badgers want to contend in the Big Ten this year, they need to win. This is a big-time game, and this is the first game since we've been moved up to 15, so I want to see how the team responds to that. And like you were saying, Connor Essegian has really been struggling this year, and he's coming off his first good game of the year. I want to see how he responds to a good game, maybe build another game on top of that, because if this team wants to go far, we need the Connor Essegian that was from last year to really step up, take his role on, and this team can really go far. So, yeah, it's going to be a big game tomorrow, and hopefully it goes our way.
Dredge.
Sorry, I was muted there. My biggest question mark with Connor Essegian here going into this one, especially with how Greg Gard has used him, is with the good guard play of Ohio State. How much does he use Connor Essegian? Because we know that he's held him accountable on the defensive end. And we saw against Iowa, we barely saw Connor Essegian. Nebraska, we saw him a little bit. They have decent guard play there at Nebraska. So how does Greg Gard use Connor Essegian? And in this game, I would love to see Connor Essegian in this game, see how he stacks up against some pretty good guards there from Ohio State, really put him to the test in this ball game. And like we were just talking, winning on the road in the Big Ten, tough. I mean, we looked at last night there. Nebraska beat Purdue it was in Nebraska, but they beat Purdue 88-72. A 16-point win by Nebraska. Wisconsin just blew the doors off of Nebraska at home. Now Nebraska goes back home. They play number 1 Purdue, and they just completely dismantle Purdue. That just shows you how tough it is to win on the road in the Big Ten. And Wisconsin traveling to Columbus, playing a 12-3 Buckeyes team will come, like we were talking there, with Thornton. He's rolling this season. Jamison Battles shooting 45%. That's going to be a rough game. That is going to be a hostile environment. How do the Badgers travel? That's what I can't wait to see in this one. Like you said, going down to Arizona, it was a winner. We went through a 3-game stretch there, Michigan State, Marquette, and Arizona. We're like, they win 2 out of 3 in this stretch. That's awesome. They win 3 out of 3. They're going to the Final Four. If they win 1 out of 3, it's still not the end of the world. They won 2 out of 3. That was impressive in that stretch there. This could start that other stretch for the Badgers right now. Ohio State on the road, going down to Columbus there for a night game. That sets you up for a pretty darn good season if you can go into Ohio State and pick up a win. That's what we can't wait to see here, is how the Badgers travel. I think that's going to be a big thing. Anything else anybody's got to add here, Austin?
I think this game is going to come down to the 3-point line. I mean, we know what Steven Crowell, we know what Tyler Wall, we know how A.J. Storr can get to the basket and make his little jump shots. The games that the Badgers have played good in is the games that they shoot at I mean, this is any team, obviously, but the major games that the Badgers have played good in, for, say, even Nebraska last week, we saw how good that they were at the 3-point line. They're going to have to be good at the 3-point line again, especially with how good Jamison Battle and Bruce Thornton are at shooting 3-pointers for Ohio State. So I think it's really going to come down to that.
They just can't become reliant on it. We watched that with that Badger team last year. At times, they became so heavily reliant on, if the 3 wasn't falling, we're screwed. And that's where, like you said, it's going to be 1 at the 3-point line. They're going to have to hit some big shots in this game, but I think they got to work inside out. They have to be able to establish the post game with Steven Crowell and Tyler Wall and work it back outside to your shooters. Storr, Essegian if he gets in there, Klesmit, Chucky. Those guys will be able to knock down shots, but it's got to flow within that offense. Rogan, anything you got to add to the Wisconsin talk here?
I think this is the biggest 6-game stretch of the year. We've seen this in the past with this Badger team. They start off really hot, and then it's right around that mid-January where they really start to struggle. And last year, I think at one point last year, didn't they lose 5 or 6 games straight in January? Something like that.
Yeah.
So this is going to be big. If they can get through this 5-game stretch and win some of these games, I think it's going to be a really good year for them.
It's definitely going to be a big matchup here. If I can get her back up here. 7:30 for the tip there on BTN from Columbus, Ohio. Massive matchup for the Badgers. Next up, we have number 11, Marquette. They're going to be taking on Butler. That's coming from the Pfizer. Their 8 o'clock tip for that one. That should be a pretty big matchup there for Marquette coming off of a loss. They're looking to bounce back here against a 10-5 Butler team. Not overly great, but we saw that in Seton Hall. They were coming in at 10-5, and they took care of Marquette. So, Austin, what are we seeing for stats there from Butler leading up into this one here?
Yeah, this Butler team, like you said, 10-5, 3-1 in the Big East. But, I mean, they just played a really close game with UConn, only losing 88-81. So maybe there's a little more fuel to the fire coming off of that game. And here they're led by – there's 4 guys on their team, on their starters, that are in double digits for this Butler team. Pierre Brooks is the main one with 16.5 points per game. Jamal Telfort, he averages 14.5 points per game. DJ Davis is 14.2 points per game. And then Posh Alexander leading the team with 10.2 points per game, and then also 5.2 assists per game and 1.9 steals per game. Jalen Thomas for them is the leader in rebounds. He averages 6.3 rebounds per game, also 1.2 blocks. He only averages about 5.7 points per game, so not a whole lot there, but he's definitely a good rebounder and effective on the defense. Like we said, I mean, Marquette coming off the Seton Hall loss here, how are they going to be able to respond against I guess you could say Butler's decent. I mean, 10-5, can't take nothing away from that. But some of their games, like you said, not overly impressive. I mean, they played Michigan State early, lost them by 20, and then they lost to Florida Atlantic. And now they're on a 3-game losing streak right now. So Butler's definitely hungry for a win. How are they going to be able to play against this Marquette team who just recently lost to Seton Hall? I don't know.
It'll be a tough game for Butler at the Pfizer, definitely coming into tonight's game here. Looking at Butler, I mean, 82 points a game so far this year. They're averaging about 7. They're giving up about 72, shooting about 46% from the field there, about even on rebounds there with Marquette. So, like we talked with Seton Hall, pretty even matchup between the two teams. I think it's going to be a big thing to see how does Tyler Kolek bounce back here against Butler. Last 2 games, he struggled. I mean, looking at 2 games ago there against Creighton, he was 2 for 11. This last game, I think he only mustered up about 5 points or so. So, I mean, he's been struggling as of late. How does Tyler Kolek bounce back for this Marquette team? I think a lot of it's going to rely on him in this game to see what he does, especially coming back home. You're at the Pfizer. You got a little home cooking there. How does this Marquette team bounce back from a tough loss there against Seton Hall? Rogan, anything to add here to the Golden Eagles?
Yeah, I'm waiting for Marquette to get it going here. They've got a really talented roster, and I don't think this year they have not clicked yet. And I think they will. They've still got a lot of time left. Season's nowhere near over, but they have not clicked to the point that they did last year. And I think that starts with Kolek, like you were saying. Kolek has not been the same player this year. He has struggled recently. He struggled mightily against the Badgers when I was at that game. And for Marquette to get where they want to go, he's really got to get going. And I think he's going to have a big game here against Butler.
Definitely will have to for Marquette to pull out this one here at home. So 8 o'clock tip there for number 11 Marquette taking on Butler tonight. That'll be on CBS SN if you are looking for that game. But with that, I'm going to jump Wisconsin women. They're going to be in action against Northwestern tonight here. 6:30 tip for that ball game. And then Marquette women, they're coming off of yesterday or 2 days ago. They had a win against yesterday. They had a win against Seton Hall. 75-54 was the final in that one. Big game from Liza Carlin. She went for 30 points in that one. Micah Gray led in points for Seton Hall. But with that, I want to talk about Pittsville Farm and Home Center at the store in Pittsville. They serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see them and the awesome crew down at Pittsville Farm and Home in Pittsville. But with that, I want to move on here. We got some Packer talk for the day. A lot of interesting things that we just conjured up. We wanted to talk about here on the show. So first, I want to start with Anders Carlson. What to do with Anders Carlson? Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you got to remember, he's a rookie. And yeah, he's a rookie. I give him the pass of being a rookie. But when does that become a non-factor in the whole situation? He's missing chip shots. That's the big thing, chip shots. I'm okay. You miss about 50 plus. That's okay. I mean, that happens. You're going to miss a couple here and there. The chip shots are what worry me. And going in, I look more towards next season. You ride it out with him. I mean, there's nothing you can do now. I think you ride it off into the offseason. You see what maybe comes available, or you go into next preseason. You see how it's going. And then if it's still a problem, now you have to address it. So looking at Austin with Anders Carlson, what's your thoughts? What's your move that you would be looking at making there with him right now?
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the season, he was doing really good, actually. I mean, he was making a lot of his kicks. Wasn't really missing – he didn't miss nearly any PATs that he's doing now. And now towards this late stretch, he's kind of been not doing so hot. I mean, he's averaging probably a missed PAT per game, which is not good. And you talk about him being a rookie. Yeah, he's a rookie. Well, guess who's also a rookie? The Cowboys kicker, Brandon Aubrey. And he's missed one kick this whole year including regular field goals and PATs, and that one kick that he missed was blocked. He didn't even actually miss it. So you can't even really, if you want to put it that he's a rookie, sure, but I mean, there's other rookies out there that are doing better than him. And I'm not sure if Brandon Aubrey was even drafted. I'm not sure if he was drafted or if he was a free agent, but we drafted Carlson out of Auburn. And right now, is it looking like that was the right decision? I don't know. Like you said, we're going to have to wait till – obviously we can't do nothing right now, but we're going to have to wait until next year. And we're probably going to bring in another kicker during spring training – or not spring training, but fall camp to compete with Anderson here. Kind of like how Anderson – or Carlson, Anders Carlson. And just like how we did with Mason Crosby. I mean, we brought in how many kickers once Mason Crosby was getting a little bit older? We brought so many kickers in to compete with him. And somehow Crosby still fought him, beat him out, battling them. And even though we saw Mason Crosby kind of dwindling down during his career. But I think we're going to kind of see a similar thing, which sucks because Anders is 20-something years old and he's still young. But at this point, you can't be missing PATs. I know they moved it back. I know it's different than when you're in college. I mean, college is still you're snapping the ball from the 3-yard line instead of the 15 or whatever. But I mean, this is part of your job. You're expected to make these kicks, and if you're not getting it done, this is the NFL. I mean, people probably give kickers a lot of crap, and it's one of the hardest jobs in the NFL. You got to admit. I mean, look at how many kickers there are in the NFL. There's only 32. There's only one kicker per team, and if you're not going to get it done, there's a kicker out there that's waiting to take your spot. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Packers do in the offseason. But as of now, we're kind of stuck with them.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's only 32 kickers in the league, but you look at how many colleges there are in the league or in the U.S. So how many D1 kickers graduate each year? There is a lot of kickers out there in the United States of America who would take a job of a NFL kicker in a heartbeat. So, I mean, looking at his stats, 27 for 33 on field goals, 81%. He's 6 for 6 from 20 to 29. He's 14 for 14, 30 to 39. At 40 to 49, he's 4 for 8. And he's 3 for 5 from 50 plus. So that's, I mean, you get him moved away and the problems start. So he's not an accurate deep kicker. So that means the offense has got to move him within about, like we said, 30 to 39 yards for him to be anywhere near consistent on his kicks there. Looking at extra points, like you were saying, there are 5 extra point misses on the season so far, averaging out to about 87%. Not great. Not overly great. Not for extra points. I mean, I could see a miss. I could see 2 misses. But when you get up in the 5 range, that's when you start to worry. Rogan, what's your opinion right now on Anders Carlson, and what are your thoughts here with him?
Yeah, people are saying like he's a rookie, and I mean that's true. That's true for almost every other position on a football field. But the one thing with kickers is kickers, if they're not making them, they are gone. It does not matter if they're a rookie, a 10-year vet, 15-year vet. Kickers have to make kicks, and when they're not, they're gone. Like, you cannot be missing field goals in big-time games when those points are going to be crucial. And I'm worried that, like this Cowboys game, I'm worried that we're going to miss a kick early in that first half or something, and it's going to come back to bite us. The one thing I think we can hope maybe happens with Carlson is he follows the path of his brother, Tucker. Tucker, I believe, is kicking for the Raiders right now, and he is a great kicker. In his rookie season last year,
and Carlson.
Yeah, his rookie season last year, he really struggled. But this year, he has turned into one of the NFL's best kickers. So I think that's kind of what we got to hope for with our guy here in Green Bay.
Yeah, I think like we were talking, you take him into next year, you see what it kind of transpires into. You can't go past like week 4 of the regular season. You can't. I think you give him the preseason, you give him week 4, week 5, and then you say, okay, now is the scouting report. Now we've figured it all out. Now we know. Now we can go out there and find somebody else, because kicking is one of those things where it's not like yesterday we were talking with receivers, where you can't really bring a receiver in and expect magic to happen right away. You can't bring cornerbacks in and expect magic to happen. Kickers are kickers. They're different. You bring them in, their job is to kick. I mean, it's one of those things where it's a revolving door. And like you said, you can't kick. There's the door. Let somebody else in on your way out. That's where it's going to be leading towards for Anders Carlson. So with that, I just wanted to move on here talking about, they talked a little bit about Jair Alexander. And from what we hear, Jair wants to come back next year. The Packers, I believe, want him back from the little bit that we've heard. In your guys' opinion, so right now, what would you do with him? Would you bring him back, or would you basically trade him away, let him walk out the door on you? I think it would be tough to send him out. I really do. Making him the highest paid corner in the league. Now, a couple seasons later, you say, enough's enough. We're going to get rid of you now. I can't see it. I really can't. Yes, he had the blunder of a mistake there against the Panthers, and a lot of that has to do with the locker room was a mess. I really don't think the organization has control at times over what's going on in the locker room. And Jair just did what Jair did, and I think he learned from it. I really do. I'm bringing him back next season. No way I could watch Jair walk out the door there on this Packers team. Rogan, what do you think? Let Jair walk, or are you bringing him back there?
I think you have to bring Jair back. Don't forget, when this guy is healthy, he is arguably the best cornerback in the league. Like, this guy is an elite player. He's dealt with some injuries the last couple of years, so I think that's where that decision is kind of in the back of their head. Like, this guy's been hurt a lot recently. We're paying him a lot of money. But I think you got to give him one more year. And if he battles injuries again next year, I think that's when you let him walk. But he's our entire character on defense. He's the only guy in defense that other teams are actually afraid of. I think that's important, the character he brings to our defense. So, no, I don't think you can let him go.
I think that was the big thing watching that Bears game. You didn't hear about Jair Alexander. Why? He had a phenomenal game. That's the big thing, is you didn't hear about him. He had a phenomenal game. And like you were saying there, the character of Jair Alexander. He brings a different kind of funk to the Packers defense, something that you need. And, he's not the leader. He's not the leader of a defense. I wouldn't follow that guy anywhere. But you don't need him to be a leader. You need him to be that guy. And he is that guy for this Green Bay team. We watched him when the Packers needed him against the Vikings there against Justin Jefferson. He shut him down and made Justin Jefferson look like he was a subpar wide receiver that year. And like the only thing, like you said, and that was a great point, injuries are what could spell the difference between Jair Alexander staying long-term with Green Bay and being kicked out the door there early on is just, holding up a spot for somebody else. The Packers could use a draft pick. We know they love drafting corners and safeties in the first round. So it wouldn't surprise me if we still did draft a corner or safety. So, Austin, what's your opinion? Are you keeping Jair or are you letting him walk?
Same as you two. I mean, you got to keep Jair for the same factors as, like Rogan said, when he's healthy, one of the best corners in the league. But also, look at how young our DB situation is. I mean, Jair is damn near he's the oldest guy in that group. You got to keep him. He's a little bit of a veteran now. I mean, and overall, our team is so young. He's a veteran almost on the entire team. And for the defense, now, yes, his character does get a little whack sometimes, but that's just how he is. I mean, no, he doesn't have to be a leader, even if he decides to walk out there by himself and choose to be captain. But that's a whole different story right there. But I think he's not only bad, or he's a really good he's a good vet, and he shows a lot of emotion. I mean, you look at when he started doing the seatbelt thing or locking him down, and now look how many corners are doing that, not even on the Packers, but all over the league. I mean, he pretty much started that thing when he locked down Jefferson last year. So he's a very influential person, not only on the field, but also in the locker room. He adds a lot of team morale. And I actually believe that a lot of people, we like to talk about how funny it was when he walked out there, how stupid he might have been to walk out there as a captain. But I actually do believe that a lot of his teammates had his back just because of how Jair is. And he said in his interview that he's learned a lot from the being suspended or whatever, and he's gonna be changed. And I think he said that his interviews are going to be a lot more serious now. And he kind of gave a little smirk, which I thought was funny. But overall, you got to keep Jair, because when he's healthy, he's good. He's good for the team, and he's a vet. He's a vet at this point for how young our DBs are.
And I think definitely looking at the defensive coordinator spot, we expect Joel Berry to be booted out. I think a change in leadership would definitely bring some good news to Jair Alexander. I think that's been a lot of the outspoken stuff, the stuff where he's doing behind the scenes and he's doing this stuff on the field. I think that has a lot to do with leadership, and I think him not agreeing with what's going on in Green Bay. So I think a change of leadership there at defensive coordinator is definitely going to help there for Jair. Another thing on the defense, we were talking about long-term there, and Quay Walker, definitely someone I am looking at signing long-term if I am the Green Bay Packers. I just, thinking about it, I was thinking about, guys on the defense and what I would do with some of these guys. And Quay Walker, I mean, when he's healthy, man, he's all over the place. You can send him on a blitz. You can drop him back in coverage. I mean, that guy blitzing is unreal. He can bull rush with the best of them there at the linebacker spot. But watching him drop back into pass coverage too, he is all around a dynamic linebacker. And I think he adds a different kind of element to this Green Bay Packer team when he's healthy, when he's out there. So, I mean, to you guys, Rogan, Quay Walker, is he a guy you would be looking at signing long-term here in Green Bay?
I think so too. I think definitely, for sure. He reminds me of like another Jair. He brings character, and yes, he has dumb penalties out there, but I like guys that are really aggressive and that are character builders. You look at like a guy like Preston Smith or Kenny Clark or even Rashawn Gary. Like, yeah, they go out there, they do their job, but like they make a big play and there's just like no reaction. You look at these great defenses, and all those guys out there are out there talking. They're talking trash. They're celebrating every single play. Like, that's a guy that Quay Walker could be, and I think he's well on his way to do it. So I definitely think we should re-sign him.
Yeah, and like you said, I think he learned a lot. After that first year in Green Bay, the penalties the one against the Lions, pushing a medical staff and all, I think he really did learn. This year, we're not seeing as much of that stuff going on with Quay Walker. I think he's a lot more level-headed. I think he came into this season to prove a point and to prove that he's not that kind of guy. He's not the guy who's out there and he's just got this chip. I mean, that he's going to go after whoever, whenever. He's going to throw, the dirty stuff behind the scenes. He's proven he's not that guy. And I think that was a big growth of Quay Walker, and that's why I wouldn't hesitate with him right now from what I've seen to sign him back to possibly a longer-term deal. Austin, Quay Walker, what are your opinions on that situation?
Yeah, Quay Walker, since he's stepped foot in Green Bay, has been honestly a phenomenal player, especially for being a rookie. I mean, last year he led the team with 121 tackles in 17 games. He had 1.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 recovery. And this year he did not drop off at all. I mean, he added 118 tackles to his career in only 14 games played. He didn't even play a full season this year. And granted, he's probably going to pass his tackle mark that he got last year after the Cowboys game. But this year he also added 2.5 sacks and a pick 6 that he had. So even when he's not doing the best out there, he's still adding that linebacker factor. He's still being a really good player, and he's been a good player since he's been a rookie, which, I mean, a lot of people you don't see, and I think he wasn't even a first-round pick, I don't believe. I'm pretty sure second-round pick. I can't remember what it was. He was our first-round pick? Well, he's definitely playing like a first-round pick that you don't see some of the guys that we've drafted in the past years. So definitely a really good player from Quay Walker. And once his rookie contract's up, we definitely have to be looking to sign him for a longer-term deal, especially with Devondre Campbell. He's getting a little bit older. I don't know if he's going to be staying here after this year, whenever his contract's up. We've seen kind of his rebuttal with our coaches or our office or whatever you want to say. So I don't even know if Devondre Campbell's going to be here anymore. So Quay Walker's kind of the next guy that's going to have to step up for that defense in the middle there for us and kind of become that veteran leader that we need.
It's definitely going to be interesting. Like, the defense is always a revolving door. Like we were talking with kickers, it seems like you see new faces every single year there on the defense there, anywhere you look. So definitely going to be interesting what the Packers do with Quay Walker. Moving on there, though, I was, thinking about, I early on this season, I was so against Jordan Love. And I'll admit it. I was against Jordan Love. I was all about trading. I was all about getting a top pick in the draft. I was all about getting J.J. McCarthy or somebody else into Green Bay and letting him ride. And I bit my tongue. I ate my own words. He's proven himself. But the guy that hasn't gotten enough recognition for that buildup of Jordan Love, we don't talk about him. We talk about Jordan Love. And Tom Clements, the quarterback coach for Green Bay, when everybody else in America was saying, Packers need a new quarterback, Jordan Love isn't it. I mean, everybody was saying everything. Tom Clements went to work. The footwork for Jordan Love has improved. Just his mental outlook on the game has improved. His processing has improved. Everything in Jordan Love's game from what we saw in the first half of the season when they started out 2-5. Now they ended up 9-8. So you rattle off how many wins in there, how well Jordan Love has played in that stretch. Tom Clements just doesn't get enough recognition for what he has done throughout this. Rogan, I mean, the growth of Jordan Love, it has to be somewhat putting on what Tom Clements has done for this Packers team.
Yeah, no, I was kind of with you there. The beginning of the season there, midway through, I was like, I don't think this is our guy. But this last 10 games, I mean, this guy can play. He can really play. And like you said, Tom Clements deserves a ton of credit for that. He worked with Aaron Rodgers for a long time, and now he's moved on to Jordan Love. And if I'm a GM out in the league right now and I've got a young quarterback coming in, or like a Carolina where you got like a young who plays at Carolina? Is that Bryce?
Bryce
Young.
I am begging this guy to come and help our quarterbacks because he's proven himself again and again that not only can he develop these quarterbacks, but he can do it with more than one. So I'd just be begging Tom Clements to come to my team if I got a young quarterback coming in.
You know, the only thing I got to complain about with Tom Clements is I would tell Jordan Love, stop throwing all these lob passes out there. Because son of a gun, one of them is going to be picked off. I mean, I'm watching him throw all these, and it's like, why didn't you just put a little zip on that ball? Why are you lobbing that thing in there? It's like, oh, boy. I mean, sometimes I watch it, and I'm like, this is the luckiest son of a gun I have ever watched. Because it's like, pop, oh, yeah, there he is, wide open. Two defenders not knowing what's going on. And here comes a little lob pass into the end zone touchdown. It's like, oh, my gosh. Austin, I mean, some of this credit has to be given to Tom Clements here, right?
Yeah, let me tell you about Tom Clements. Now, I'm guessing a lot of people don't know a whole lot about him, but this man is kind of a stud, especially in the CFL, all right? This man is a two-time Grey Cup champion. He's a CFL passing yardage leader in 1979, long time ago. He's old. He's 70 years old. And he's a seven-time CFL All-Star and a national champion with Notre Dame, all right? Now, he started coaching for Notre Dame. He was a quarterback's coach. It seems like he's always been a quarterback's coach, starting from with Notre Dame in 1992. Then he went to New Orleans. He started in the NFL, got to Green Bay in 2006 when he was a quarterback's coach. He was quarterback's coach for Green Bay from 2006 to 2011. So that's when Green Bay won their Super Bowl championship there with Aaron Rodgers. But he also coached Brett Favre right there for a little bit too when Brett Favre was doing super good. From there, he got promoted to offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers from 2012 to 2014, and those were still some great years for the Packers there. But then he just went to assistant coach from 2015 to 2016 for the Green Bay Packers, then moved on to Arizona, and now he's back in Green Bay as of last year as a quarterback coach. This guy's kind of been all over the place, I'm not going to lie, but he's stuck with quarterback coaching. He knows what he's doing. He's played quarterback he's in the CFL. I mean, he played 1 year for the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's mainly a CFL guy. But this guy knows quarterbacking. And let me tell you, if you can coach Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, now it makes sense where Jordan Love is getting a lot of this throwing motion, all of his knowledge from. Now, yes, you can say Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers and studied his film and learned all of his knowledge from Aaron Rodgers. Well, Aaron Rodgers probably learned it from Brett Favre, and Brett Favre probably learned it from this old man named Tom Clements. Tom Clements is a genius. And I hope as the Packers, we keep Tom Clements because, I mean, this old guy, he's 70 years old, but he's still kicking at the football. And as you guys said, I mean, kind of brought back Jordan Love's career. And let me tell you, I was one that has always been with Jordan Love. I'm always going to say that because Trajan was down in the dumpsters on Jordan Love, and I said, give him time. Give him time. And now you're
a dumpster fire. I couldn't give time to a dumpster fire. You were throwing gas on the dumpster fire.
And it worked. We made the fire bigger, baby, and now he's on fire. Jordan Love is on fire, baby. What do you want, Rogan? What do you want?
Rogan.
Hey, all I got to say is Tom Clements knows quarterbacks like Austin Humke knows women. Very, very good.
Very good. All right, we got to move on here. We don't need to know about Austin. We got the history of Tom Clements. I wasn't ready for the history of Tom Clements, but now you guys know everything you need to know about where he's been and what he's done in his career. So
he's a beast. He's a beast.
He's a stud. He's a stud is what I got out of that. So I got one stat from Sunday, and that was against the Bears. Packers running back Aaron Jones became the first Packers since Ahmad Green in 2006 to register 3 consecutive 100-yard rushing games. So Showtime is starting to show what he's got there for the Green Bay Packers. It's been impressive as of late. And like we talked about yesterday, a lot has to be contributed to what the offensive line has done for Green Bay here in the second half, really producing what Aaron Jones has been doing. But with that, I got one more thing to wrap us up here. Is Matt LaFleur your coach of the year? I got my opinion, but I'm going to jump to Austin right away. Is Matt LaFleur the coach of the year in the NFL?
I got to say no. I got to be honest. I got to say no. I mean, the team that Matt LaFleur is working with definitely is, I mean, they're the youngest team in the NFL right now. He somehow got them to the playoffs. But, I mean, we've seen some coaching decisions that question Matt LaFleur. I think there's better coaches out there as of now. I mean, you look at Kevin Stefanski, who somehow took the Browns. I mean, Browns in any other division is winning the division. They're 10-5, and they're somehow the top seed in the wild card. And there's 3 teams in that NFC or AFC North that have made the playoffs. Kevin Stefanski's got to be my front runner. How he took the Browns. I mean, he took the Browns over when they were. I mean, I think there was a coach in between where they went 0-16 and to Kevin Stefanski, but he took them to the playoffs when they beat the Steelers. And now they're back again. And, I mean, the Browns are looking good. And a lot of people probably haven't been able to see this since Jim Brown's been playing for the Browns. So it's been a while. Kevin Stefanski's got to be my front runner for Coach of the Year.
Okay. Rogan, what do you got for is Matt LaFleur your Coach of the Year?
I think Matt LaFleur deserves it as much as any other coach in the league. I mean, you look at this team, and I think they started out 2-5, and to be able to turn that around and finish 9-8, like that's coaching. That's keeping your team together, especially a young team. This is the youngest team since the 2017 Cleveland Browns, and that year's team finished 0-16. So I think that's very impressive on Matt LaFleur. Not only the youngest team, but how he was able to turn this season around. So I think he deserves it as much as any other coach does.
I don't want to crap on anyone's opinions here, but there's only one guy that could possibly win this, and that is DeMeco Ryans with the Houston Texans. What DeMeco Ryans has done with the Houston Texans in one season, he took a dumpster fire. I mean, I'm a besides the Packers, I'm a Texans fan. And what he has done with the Texans, the defense, and C.J. Stroud coming in, making guys, receivers like Nico Collins, who before this year, he was okay, he was subpar. Now Nico Collins is making plays all over the place. This guy looks like a stud down there with the Texans. If Kevin Stefanski doesn't win it for what he's done with the Browns and Matt LaFleur, I mean, doesn't squeak. DeMeco Ryans is my guy. I mean, I think it's between those 3 guys. I really do. I think between Kevin Stefanski, what he's done, especially losing Deshaun Watson, moving on to Joe Flacco. The only shot I could take at Kevin Stefanski, that defense for the Browns is loaded. And that's the only thing I could take against Kevin Stefanski. The Packers, the defense sucks. So, I mean, defensive coordinator sucks. So, Matt LaFleur's is impressive what he's been able to do with a terrible defensive coordinator. I think the only thing holding him back is the decision making, like Austin said earlier, and also not firing Joel Berry. I'm going to hold him out of my coach of the year for not firing Joel Berry earlier. But D'Amico Ryans turning the Texans organization around, winning the AFC South, coming from behind and winning the AFC South the way that he did, winning that last game against the Colts. That was just impressive to me out of this tech. I mean, it's going to come down to what do the Texans do in that first round against the Browns? If the Texans can pull that one out, that'll be impressive in its own right.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at some of the past NFL coaches of the years. Last year, you look at 2023, Brian Daboll was the coach of the year for the New York Giants. Year before that, Mike Vrabel. Year before that, Kevin Stefanski actually won it, and pretty sure that was the year that they beat the Steelers in the first round of playoffs, first time they ever made the playoffs in a long time. Year before that, John Harbaugh, and then year before that, even Matt Nagy, when he was a coach for the Chicago Bears, won Coach of the Year. All three of us, those are all three good picks. It seems like a lot of the time, the Coach of the Year, it's some coach that they led their team to a playoff berth after the team before that was like a complete dumpster fire. And right now, were the Cleveland Browns really a dumpster fire? Not really. I mean, they were pretty good last year. They're good this year. But like as you were saying, the Texans last year, they had the number 2 overall pick, and now they're in the playoffs. And even like how, Rogan, you were saying, Matt LaFleur leading this team to somehow a playoff berth. I think all of us, it could be any three of them. The thing I know for sure is it's not going to be some coach that, like, their team is just completely stacked out, kind of like the 49ers and Shanahan over there, or even Harbaugh with the Ravens. I can't see them being coach of the year just because of how good their teams are already. Like, when your team is good, it's easy to coach them. But these teams that we're talking about, for how young they are, how inexperienced they are, for how kind of fresh they are, being already bad and now they're really good, it takes a coach to do that. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see who wins this NFL Coach of the Year award.
I think, going off of that, I think it's going to be a 4-man race, and I forgot about one guy, Sean McVay. The Rams were, look at the Packers against the Rams early on. I know Matthew Stafford was out, but the way the Rams were trending to what they rattled off there to end the year, ending up getting into the wild card, being one of the top seeds in the wild card race, that's impressive in its own right. So, I think this race is going to come down to Kevin Stefanski, D'Amico Ryans, Sean McVay, and Matt LaFleur. I really think that's the top 4 guys that you could throw in there as your coaches of the year. I wish there could be a co-coach of the year, because this is tough. Looking at those 4 guys and what they've done for their organizations this season, that's a tough pick. I wouldn't want to be on that committee having to pick that one. So, definitely going to be – Austin, you got something?
Do you even throw in Sean McDermott in there too, from the turnaround that the Bills have had also? That could be a possibility too. They definitely don't limit the amount of nominees that a coach of the year can have. So there's definitely a lot of options that could be played here this year for coach of the year.
It's definitely going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting vote right there. I'm glad I don't have to pick it. I'm just waiting to see who does win it in the end. But with that, anybody got anything else here for Wisconsin Sports Talk? Nothing across the board here. So that is about all we got for today. We talked a lot today. We had the Bucs, we had the Packers, we had everything in between. So with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.